This is a new day, a day full of sound and light, of longing and belonging. Let us be together and celebrate the joys and scatter the fears and sorrows to the four winds. Come, let us worship together. And now please rise in body or spirit and open your teal hymnal to page 1002 and let us sing Comfort Me. Welcome to UUYO, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Youngstown. We are non-creedal, which means you are not required to believe a certain set of beliefs to become a member of this church. Instead, we are bound together by a commitment to our life in the here and now, and the life of our neighbors in the here and now, guided by love, compassion, and justice. My name is Sarah Lown, and I am a paltry stand-in for Reverend Joseph Boyd here today, coordinating. Thank you, from the Peanut Gallery. And let me extend a special welcome to our presenter today, Ms. Tia Crew. Tia is service coordinator for the HUD subsidized housing apartment complex in Youngstown on the south side. And today she will share some stories of her life with the residents there, a group of residents, low income, many with disabilities, and a host of challenges and many sources of inspiration. Thank you, Tia, for being with us today. We are honored. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to those of you who are here for the first or second time, or for those of you who are returning after a long absence. It is wonderful to see your faces among us today. If you would like to learn more about UUYO and its activities in the community and here at the church, we invite you to fill out a yellow card, which is back there at the table. This is it. You don't have to share too much. And then we will stay in touch with you and share updates on activities, etc. We also invite you to stay after service for refreshments. They're already starting to get laid out. You can smell the coffee. That is something that we will have a little later on after service, so please stay. I have no announcements. I'm going to open up to the floor, but you're only allowed to have 2 sentences. Okay, maybe 3. Announcement. Kathleen, did you have an announcement?
I'm going to just sit here.
Yeah, you can sit.
My voice is loud enough.
Yeah.
So, Jedi Academy starts in 2 weeks.
That was only 1 sentence. Okay, thank you. Jedi Academy. Yeah, Bob. Oh, Foreign Policy Group after the service is always very good. Yes, thank you, Bob.
Oh, I got another one.
Another one.
Pool party next Saturday.
Pool party next Saturday.
Please look at your newsletter and all that, okay? Or come up and ask me. Pool party. Everybody.
All right. All right. Stay tuned.
Joseph, is Hope's event this week or next week? It's later? Okay.
All right.
Coming up next week, I think.
All righty. All righty. Look for that in your inbox in the email. We'll make sure everybody's in the loop there. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. On to the chalice lighting. Each day, I make a trip to downtown Youngstown along Market Street. If you frequent that route yourself, you know the many sad faces walking along those sidewalks. Some days I imagine myself with a golden lasso or a shovel and just scooping up those lost souls to do what, I don't even know. But something must be done. On my way home last Tuesday, I was thinking that way as I stopped at the light by Calvary Towers, watching a man in a wheelchair struggle to roll up over this chewed up curb. His wheelchair was flimsy and cheap. In his Cardinal Mooney t-shirt, he looked malnourished. His legs were cut off at the knees. But what was most striking about this man was his face. He had this handsome, chiseled face, but with a look of such pain and stress, it was hard to look at him. And I wondered, what is this guy's story? All at once, the Volvo in front of me pulled right up onto the curb, and a driver rolled down the window on the passenger side, and he was shouting out to this guy. And then I saw it all at once, this Total transformation. The guy's face lit up, and he's shouting at the driver, and the driver's shouting back, and the banter is rolling on as I pass through that green light. The next light, I catch the sight of a young boy at the dollar store parking lot, and he's capturing his even younger brother who's toddling toward the street. The way that boy gently corralled that kid and twirled him around like it was a game. They both laughed. They laughed like sunshine would never stop on their watch. I had a smile. Real love, that's what that was. Up a ways from there, I stopped at the Popeyes, the light there at Meridian, and there was a man walking into the parking lot, skinny as hell, jeans falling off, boxers hanging out, you know the look. And he had that wary look about him. And all of a sudden, this old beat-up Honda pulls up right next to him, and a burly man and his 3 kids all jump out of the car. They leave the car running, the doors are flapping open, and all 3 of them just pull him up in a warm embrace. And the next thing I know, they're all jumping up and down and dancing. And then I thought, all these people that I worry over, like I can do something here. And on the face of it, what I see instead is love and purpose and belonging. And all this happened in the course of 3 red light cycles at 60 seconds apiece. Maybe that's all it takes to find belonging. Belonging, being and longing brought together. Isn't that pretty much the game of life? One or the other. And what we do may not amount to a hill of beans, but how we be, how we can be in this world, maybe that's where the mystery lies. We light this chalice today so that we may all be together and so that you may all feel like you belong.
Okay, I'm sure that a lot of you who heard this before were really waiting to find out what happened to Thidwick. It was a long time ago that I did this, so I'm going to remind you of what we're doing here. The story is called Thidwick, the Big-Hearted Moose. So I'll give you a little recap of what happened so far. Thidwick and his friends were on their way to a special lake to get some more food. And one little bird said, "Hey, can I ride on your horns?" And so he said, "Sure, jump on up. What's one little passenger on my horns?" And then the very next thing the poor animal knew, a bobcat and a turtle were living there too. Now, what was the big-hearted moose going to do? Well, what would you do if it happened to you? You couldn't say scat, because that wouldn't be right. You couldn't shout scram, because that isn't polite. A host has to put up with all kinds of pests. For a host, above all, must be nice to his guests. So you'd try hard to smile, and you'd try to look sweet, and you'd go right on looking for moose moss to eat. But now it was winter, and that wasn't easy. For moose moss gets scarce when the weather gets freezy. The food was soon gone on the cold northern shore of Lake Winnebago. There just was no more, and all Thidwick's friends swam away in a bunch to the south of the lake where there was moose moss to munch. He watched the herd leaving, and then Thidwick knew he'd starve if he stayed here. He'd have to go too. He stepped in the water, then, "Oh, what a fuss! Stop!" screamed his guests. "You can't do this to us. These horns are our home. You've no right to take our home to the far distant side of the lake. Be fair, Thidwick begged, with the lump in his throat. We're fair, said the bug. We'll decide this by vote. All those in favor of going say A. All those in favor of staying say nay. A, shouted Thidwick, but when he was done, nay, they all yelled. He lost 11-1. We win, screamed the guests, by a very large score, and poor starving Thidwick climbed back on the shore. Then do you know what those pests did? They asked in some more. They asked in a fox who jumped in from the trees. They asked in some mice, and they asked in some fleas. They asked a big bear in, and then, if you please, came a swarm of 362 bees. Poor Thidwick sank down with a groan to his knees, and then came something that made his heart freeze. Bullets came zigging right past Thidwick's face. Guns were bang-binging all over the place. Get that moose, get that moose, Thidwick heard a voice call. Fire again, and shoot straight, one and all. We must get his head for the Harvard Club wall. Thidwick took to his heels with that load on his head. With 500 pounds on his horns, the moose fled. He could have run faster without all those pests, but a host above all must be nice to his guests. Up canyon, off cliff, over a wild rocky trail, with bullets bouncing around him like hail. Up gully, through gulch, and down slippery sluice, with his hard-hearted guests raced the soft-hearted moose. Then, finally, they had him. Because of those pests, he had run out of luck. Because of those guests on his horns, he was stuck. He gasped, he felt faint, and the whole world grew fuzzy. Thidwick was finished completely. Or was he? Finished? Not Thidwick, decidedly not. It's true he was in a most terrible spot, but now he remembered a thing he had forgot, a wonderful something that happened each year. Does anybody know what that could be? What happens each year for a moose? A wonderful something that happens each year to the horns of all moose and the horns of all deer. Today was the day Thidwick happened to know that old horns come off so that new ones can grow. And he called to the pests on his horns as he threw them. You wanted my horns? Now you're quite welcome to them. Keep them, they're yours. As for me, I shall take myself to the far distant side of the lake. And he swam Winnebago and found his old bunch and arrived just in time for a wonderful lunch at the south of the lake where there's moose moss to munch. His old horns today are where you knew they would be. His guests are still on them, all stuffed as they should be. The end. Okay, now it's time for class. So if you will meet me over here at this door, we'll go to our classroom.
Very good. Now, if you will turn to the covenant, which is in your order of services, and we will read it together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We now receive the offering that sustains the life of the church and its activities in the community. Cash offerings made this week will be dedicated to the Ministers' Service Fund, which is dedicated to assisting members of the church and the greater community in time of crisis. Any pledge offerings, we invite you to mark on the envelope. There are some on the chairs. Just grab one if you need to. And we thank you for your pledges and for your contribution to this church. And now I invite you to take a moment for meditation and reflection. Please settle yourselves comfortably in the seat. Take a deep breath and be. Peace of mind is over. And now for the reading. Working Together by David White. David White is an Irish poet that I just happened to cross in the last couple of weeks. Everything he writes is astonishing and short. We shape ourselves to fit this world, and by the world are shaped again. The visible and the invisible working together in common cause to produce the miraculous. I am thinking of the way the intangible air traveling at the speed of sound round a shaped wing easily holds our weight. So may we, in this life, trust to those elements we have yet to see or imagine, and look for the true shape of our own self by forming it well to the great intangibles around us.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Tia Crew, and I am the service coordinator at a HUD subsidized housing on Hillman Street on the south side of Youngstown. I've done all kinds of stuff with the Youngstown residents in my career that spans like 3 decades. I'm really old. But I did homeless housing and domestic violence and rape crisis and suicide hotlines and chemical dependency treatment programs and everything. And like the last 13 years of my life, I switched over to Pennsylvania and I was a children's therapist. And that was horrible. That was during COVID. And I got burned out there and I thought, well, I'm going to come back to Youngstown. And, you know, see, I don't normally include this in my presentations. Let me stop here for one moment. I was asked to come here and do a presentation. I didn't know I was doing the service. Thank you. That was a little unnerving. Anyway. I thought I was talking to you guys afterwards, you know, but no, okay. So for my career, I'm a very spiritual person, and my concept of God is your concept of God. I have come to the conclusion that my God has no form, no identity beyond who is representing him in front of me, or her, or they, or them. Okay? My God is you, and who your God is. So I identify with how I'm connected to you spiritually. And throughout my career, I have always asked at night, some would call it praying, could I please serve you? And that is what I've done all my life. So when I decided to leave being a children's therapist over in Pennsylvania, because I was at that age, I was 65, and I was ready for retirement, and I was already on disability. And I said, I don't want to stay home and watch Jerry Springer. That's just not me. I just can't do it, okay? I tried it. My husband said, get out of the house. So I started talking again at night and saying, once again, please let me serve you. So where did I land? But in the middle of the hood as a service coordinator. God has a unique sense of humor. So there I am, and we have 100 apartments, and all of them are for the very, very low income elderly and people who are living with disabilities. Like I shared with you, I've done a lot. I've worked in the trenches all my life. I never wanted to like be the head guy for anything. I just wanted to work with people. I wanted to serve, but nothing prepared me for this. Just to give you an example, many people think about their retirement. What are they going to do with their retirement? How are they going to afford to take care of themselves? What do they want out of it? One day when I was talking to one of my residents, and I don't even know how this came up, and he said, don't worry about me, little girl. I love it when they call me little girl. He said, I'm going to do something that puts me in jail. And then that way they'll take care of me and they'll bury me too. Because I don't have anybody. And anybody that I do have, I don't want them bothered by me. And they don't bother with me now, so why would they when I die? That's their retirement plan. My heart belongs to every one of them. I have a man, let me say this, I don't judge them. They are past criminals, and the only reason they're not criminals now is because they're too old and they can't move very fast, okay? But they're past criminals, many of them, not all of them. Many of them are alcoholics, many of them are drug abusers. And in my earlier years, I would promote, you need to get sober, you need to get straight, you need to do this, you need to do that. I can't do that with this population because they don't have any time left to wait for what is to come. They're there. This is what came for them. Was it because of their bad decisions or their lifestyles? Absolutely. But this is it. So if I'm going to tell them, look, hey, you, the PTSD veteran who watched his buddies get blown up, okay, who drinks excessively and has alcoholic fog and dementia, you need to quit drinking. I need to quit finding you against the library in your own vomit. I'm not going to be able to replace his life. All I can do is give him integrity until his end. And if that means, does he need toilet paper? I give him toilet paper. I am not going to say, you bad man, you're an alcoholic. Get sober or you don't get toilet paper. And I've seen some social service programs do that. Does it mean that they're less worthy? Absolutely not. I have a group of elderly women in my facility, and they're all crack addicts. Now, not all of my people are addicts and alcoholics, don't get me wrong, but I'm going to tell you about them. They're crack addicts, and they hang out together, and they play bingo together. And they shoplift together, okay? And, but in their individual sessions with me, I also know how horribly battered they were and how the sexual abuse started with their fathers. And then the abuse started with their boyfriends and then with their husbands and now with their children. This is what they have. And they want to do crack because that gives them reprieve until they die. Now, I have therapy programs that come in. I have AA that comes in. I'm a member of AA. I've got 34 years of sobriety under my belt. So, I lead by example, but I also don't shove it down their throats. I'm not a Christian, but, I've read the Bible and Jesus walked amongst, the criminals and the crooks and held their hands and took them along with him and didn't judge them. And I kind of think that's what we're supposed to do here on earth if we're here to serve. And I loved her examples when she was talking about when she's driving down the road. That is right in my area. That is right in my area. Popeyes, if you go to, do me a favor. If you go to Popeyes or you're on Midlothian and Market Street and you see people asking for money, don't give it to them. Okay? Because I don't give them money so they can go out and use. Okay? I will buy them food. I get coupons to give them food. I have all the kinds of household. I have a pantry in my office, and they can get things that they can't buy with food stamps. But if you're there and you see somebody asking for something, buy them the food. Don't give them cash. Okay? But my pantry, let me tell you a little bit about that. That I have dishwashing liquid, dish soap, toilet paper. That's a huge one. You have no idea how much integrity you can give to another human being by handing them a roll of toilet paper. The look on their face is humbling. And they will come to me when nobody else is around just to ask for that. I don't carry food in my pantry because thankfully we have a lot of food products that come in. People donate an awful lot of food, but what they don't realize is that these folks will sell their food stamps for drugs, granted, but also to buy their dish soap, laundry soap, household cleaning products. paper towels, toilet paper, that kind of stuff. But I'm getting off topic. I was saying about her thing. I watch them as they go about their days, and some of them are very striking. They have, like she said, the chiseled faces, you know, the remarkable faces that you can see on the side of the road, or if you're traveling in that area and you go into the dollar store, you'll see them gazing at the products and everything, and, you know, maybe counting the pennies that they have. And then suddenly something or someone will come up and their faces will lighten up and they'll get brilliant for that moment, full of life, because it is the people in their lives that touch them and give them reason to live and to carry on, and they share their stories, and it's the young ones. I intentionally do intergenerational programming at my place so that their grandchildren and their nieces and nephews can all come in and see them and be with them, because the elders need them and they need to pass the wisdom down. During that time, when they have their people in front of them, they are blessed. And then they leave, and then they're back with what they're left with. So they are polarized. You know, some moments are really joyous, but many moments are very quiet. When I first went there, I've only been there since not this May, but the May before. And when I showed up, we have a gentleman there that only has one leg, and he doesn't like to be called by his name. He likes to be called one leg. So if you hear me say this, it's not because I'm being derogatory to him. He has corrected me over and over again until I refer to him as how he wants. It's like the they, them, he, she, one leg thing, okay? So one leg was taking off his shoe, and he had duct tape on the bottom of his shoe, and his socks were threadbare and dirty and had holes in them. I go, what the heck's going on with that? He says, well, I only have one leg. What difference does it make? So I started paying attention to their feet. I couldn't believe the shoes that they were wearing and the socks that they had. And then I started looking, I went to their apartments and I started looking at their linens and their towels and their bed sheets. These people had not had anything new in ever. Some of them have lived there for 35 years. And their mattresses were falling apart. Their towels were threadbare and ripped. So I went on a campaign, and for the first year, I brought in just tons of donations. And right now, everybody has new socks. Everybody. Everybody has new shoes. Everybody has fresh linens, towels, the ones that needed mattresses replaced. We got mattresses replaced. You know, we got brand new gloves. People didn't have adequate coats. I got coats brought in. And I remember this one gentleman, he's in a wheelchair, and he's a sweet, frail, tiny little man. And I always think that they're older than me, but they're not. They're younger. It's just that they look older because they've had such hard lives. And I gave him, one of my friends specifically, bought him a brand new coat and those thermal gloves that are really nice, and a hat and scarf and boots and everything. And he got the whole package, and he just wept in my office, and he leaned across and he did this. And I put my hands in his, and he said, Mama, they call me Mama. Mama, nobody's loved me like this since my own mother. she's right. They need love. They are about love. And sometimes they forgot love because they don't get it often enough. You can make that difference wherever you're at. They're invisible. Most of the time when you're driving around and you see them, they're going up and down South Avenue, Market Street, Midlothian. They're in their scooters and their wheelchairs and everything. Most people ignore them. They don't even see them. They don't look in their eyes. They avoid them. Some of these people, not my people in particular, but the kind that I'm talking about that are left with what they have, they're in your families. And those people can be really hard to deal with. I've got one in my family, and I do everything I can to maintain my boundaries, but also to love her. Because the ones that need it the most, need it the most. There's a lot of wonderful people here today. And I'm glad that you come together in fellowship. And I'm glad that your hearts are open. I'm going to end with just asking you to look for opportunities to take this fellowship out and include more than you have. And if you need, let somebody know. Thank you.
Thank you, Tia. And now let's pray. May we find ways together and alone to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the sisters and brothers, and to make music in the heart. Amen. And now please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing hymn number 1007. There's a river flowing in my soul. Tim, you ready? Bit of soul or us. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. And these we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And before you depart, please remember the one great fact: you are loved and never truly alone.